Start the meeting.
Oh,
right.
he's able to see myself from this weird
Yeah, because
angle.
if you keep talking, well, I'll talk, so it'll start focusing. Yeah, oh, yeah. because you want to do it.
Okay, thank you for coming, everybody. We don't look at that clock or that because they're both slow. It's actually 7:02, so we're gonna get started. For those of you who are new, we ask people to sign in over here by putting the initials next to your name. And if you've not signed in before, we have a sign-in sheet so that we can get you on that list for next time. So all you have to do next time is put your initial down there. So because we have several new people, we're going to take the time to go around the room and introduce ourselves. I'm Judy Anderson, co-chair along with Ella of the Fire in the Root Council. I'm a private landowner, and I don't have any fire agency experience, but I'm a little bossy, so I'm up here. Okay, Ella, you're next.
Yeah, I'm Ella Langer. I'm with the DNRC. Who are me? And I'm also the co-chair of this council. And I started about 2 months ago. So I'm pretty excited to still be getting into it and being up here.
And maybe we should start with the people on Zoom and then
Yeah.
go around the room. I can't see who they are right now on the screen.
I don't. Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's Corey.
Hey,
Introduce yourself.
hey, Corey Gary, Fire Management Specialist, Prescribed Fire and Fuels, Darby Sioux Ranger District on the Bitterroot National Forest.
And you look like you're in outer space.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not here.
Yeah.
We have somebody else on Zoom.
Kimberly was on, I think, is she still on?
I am on. It's Kimberly Richardson, the agricultural, horticultural, and natural resources agent with Montana State University, housed out of Hamilton, and serve as the Fire and Rec Council as needed facilitator.
Thank you, Kimberly. Anybody else on Zoom?
I saw one the first time. I guess.
Okay.
Okay, Kristen Mortensen, Community Preparedness and Fire Prevention Specialist for the DNRC Southwestern Land Office. Like, I know there's somebody over there. There we go.
Christina Ragsdale, my husband and I own an 80-acre event venue up on the side of Victor, and we also raised some cattle and have some background in emergency response and worried about fire.
Jeff Roderick, Deputy Emergency Manager for Wellington.
Mike Camp, retired after 34 plus years of emergency services, including fire. Right now, I'm president of the Bitterroot Valley Board of Realtors, head of the Berkeley Valley County Collaborative Committee, as well as some other aspects. And I'm concerned about what can happen in the valley if we get a big fire again.
I'm Al Bagel. I farm in Corvallis. I'm a representative for the Right to Farm and Ranch Board. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan McConnell. I just started with DNRC here in Hamilton, working as a youth portrait. Glad to be here.
And I'm Thayer Jocks. I'm a unit manager for DNRC with Hamilton. Kendall Seiler, Pheasants Forever. I'm Federal Project Coordinator.
Hank Davis, and the County Farm, Right to Farm Ranch Board, and Western Agriculture.
I'm Frank Pelfrey. I'm a private landowner. I'm also with the New Climate Action Group, and I also, after the Army, was on the Deltac Fire Group for quite a while.
Laura Jackson, also worked with the Forest Service for many years as fire dispatcher and lookout, and private landowner, and I'm also part of the Climate Action Group, and my great grandparents homesteaded in the valley.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Stewart. I'm Graduate Support Information Officer for Fire in Hamilton at the Forest Service.
Oh, nice.
Amanda Albert, prevention tech on their connection. Here in Hamilton.
Wheatland office, I work for the United States Forest Service and I work in prevention right now.
And that's the zone, fire prevention officer. Josh Smith,
We're involved Victor Fire, and I'm also retired from there. And also had great grandparents. I also had something.
Thank you for doing that, and I'm sure we'll get to spend more time getting to know the new faces. So let's get the boring stuff out of the way and do the financial report.
I'm already boring. Well, and this is really extra boring because it's pretty much zeros, but so the left side shows our current account, which has to be zeroed out by the end of June. And so the italics line at the very bottom, that hasn't been spent, but it will. So I will zero out the account. And that's awesome because Ella brings with her some new funds. And so she has secured with the grant that is helping to pay for her. She has secured funding and she's giving the council $5,000, which is similar to what the same procedure that we had before. And so the council has $5,000 to decide as the council sees fit, how and where to spend within certain boundaries. There are things, because it's a grant, that we can't spend it on, but for the most part, that's really just mileage and certain travel and gifts, so yeah, we've got some funds now, thanks to Ella, so thank you, Ella.
I did so much.
And you can debate too.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah.
And so will the decision be made by a few people or by the outreach team by the end of this month on that $5,000?
On what, the new 5,000?
Yeah, you said it had to be spent by.
No, the left side had to,
The
all of those
$129.
sides, the old.
Oh, the
5,000.
129, okay.
Yeah, and so that's already allocated because the council gave the outreach team kind of responsibility over the last remaining funds, and we've spent it on, and that is advertising for the field workshop and field tour that's coming up. So that's what we paid for.
Okay,
So yes, and a report unless there is or are questions.
okay, funding team report. Are you doing that one?
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty quick. It's, the outreach team is working with, Bitterroot RC&D. Josh is kind of in the driver's seat with our CWDG, or our Community Wildfire Defense Grant application. We did get, I guess, approval and recommendation to keep moving the process, which is awesome. It means the DNRC has selected us to continue and that they will work with us. It's not me, I do not have this expertise, but we do have some really awesome individuals that will work with us to make this the best application we can. And so we're in that next step now of fleshing out the application, and the next submission due date is June 15th, and that's for the DNRC to review it and give us some feedback and then make it even better for when this next round opens up and they accept the formal applications for it. So anything to add, Josh? Yeah.
I think, we have a pretty good chance of getting it, just with, as the fire in the roof is a huge part of the educational components that you guys provide alongside the fuels reduction work that we're doing. So I think, especially the stuff that we've been doing, it's is really going to show up on that application.
I think so. Our total is about $6 million of an ask. The total amount you can ask for is 10 million. So 6 million is not outlandish. Missoula County did just get awarded 4.9 million with the last round of CWDG, and they have tried in the past and haven't been successful, but this last time they had a few partners involved and were awarded, and so partnership definitely helps. And our projects definitely go hand in hand, and so, yeah, I think we do have a good shot, and the DNRC wouldn't have selected us to move on if they didn't feel we didn't have a really good shot as well, so fingers crossed, and thanks to Josh for doing a lot of the work on that too.
Okay.
All right.
Ella, are you doing the outreach?
Yeah.
report?
Got a big fun slide here because we got a big fun month. Starting this Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Darby Clubhouse. There's gonna be RCC, the Raleigh County Collaborative's Wildfire Preparedness Day. Gonna be about 2 hours of presentations. Fire and the Root will be giving one. Anyone wants to come down and keep me and Ken company, feel free. The weekend after on June 15th is our Living with Fire in the Bitterroot workshop and field tour starting at 9 a.m. I encourage you all to grab posters and handouts on your way out tonight and put them up anywhere you go, anywhere in the valley you go, even if you go out of the valley. Because we need to get that advertising out so people sign up and RSVP. If you haven't RSVP'd yet and you'd like to come, I encourage you to scan that QR code.
Do we have advertising for that other than what we do?
Yes, so there's,
To newspaper, we're gonna do Bitterroot Star one issue, so the June 12th issue will have a quarter page ad, and then, the, Ravalli Republic will have 2 issues and digital ads in both the Ravalli Republic site and the Missoulian site. So, but those are pretty expensive, but we went with only newspaper with this one because with the debris burning workshop, we did pay for radio as well, but we didn't get any input that people heard it on the radio. It was all newspaper was where they saw it. And so that's why we're sticking with the newspaper. And of course, Ella has already been advertising on Facebook and Instagram for it, so we'll keep that up.
And Mike, I know you're on the collaborative group and they have their own poster. Are they just posting that everywhere in the south end of the valley, like People's Market and?
Maybe they can email it out 2 or 3 different times to everybody to post wherever they're out in the valley. And, well, as of, tomorrow morning, these 2 will actually be going up in our front window at our office, but I just, took one down from a blood drive that the, Bitterroot Board was sponsoring for last week, actually.
I'm just looking at my Bitterroot Chamber newsletter, and the June 8th event is advertised on there, so.
yeah.
And supposedly, our communications person at the statewide level said she heard a radio PSA on it, so.
Yeah, they might.
Maybe they're getting some radio coverage.
Mhm.
Okay.
I might have done that.
Oh, I did, I
And
did.
then
I did one of
and
these.
then I'll probably be on the Facebook page, just a lot closer.
Yes, I haven't
This
seen
one
that one
has
all
a
over.
version of one coming up on Saturday on our site.
But you're not requiring reservations for June 8th, right? Just for the 15th?
There's no
No.
lunch or anything.
Oh.
And that's
No,
not ours.
and that's
the
not,
Valley
yeah, we're just
County.
presenting at that one. That's-
There is no free registration, everything's just, show up and meet and greet and
Mhm.
find out information.
There were some people that wanted to provide beer, but they decided that wasn't a good idea.
BYO.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I understand their target audience is from Darby down to Sula.
Still enough Westport,
Yeah,
for basically this area.
so it's not really intended for the whole valley. They're
Mhm.
hoping to do maybe 2 more, move up north. Yes, Jill?
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if your PowerPoint's actually moving along with the presentation or not, but it's not moving on my end.
Interesting.
What are you seeing, Corey?
Welcome, please remember to sign in.
Share, or is it shared to the other?
Hang on, we're
Can you
working
see
on.
it now?
Yep, there you go.
We'll just do it this way then. All right.
Thank you.
Is the Zoom covering your side of it though? Okay, here we go. I think this is gonna work. Awesome.
Kimberly, are you able to see the slide?
I am now. It's
Okay,
advanced now.
great.
Lovely.
All right.
All right, moving on to the billboards. Russ, do you have any updates on those?
No updates. We're gonna try to get our final for the next round, Thursday.
Sounds good.
And the evacuation, right?
Yes, that was good.
Yeah, I'll be putting up an evacuation preparedness billboard with highlighting go bag, emergency alerts, emergency routes, and a pet plan. Next, we're gonna do a Fire in the Root Wildfire Preparedness Pint Night, the Bitterroot Brewing Company on June 21st at 5 to 8 p.m. Gonna be trivia, give away free pint glasses, have info cards at every table, and raffle off a air filter, which would be very fun and hopefully reach a new audience. Because it'll just be a bunch of folks in there that don't necessarily come for the event too. And there'll be some who come for it, so it'll be fun to get a lot of different people involved since there's prizes and whatnot, and the trivia is fairly low commitment. Low commitment,
Even
but
after
high
having a
reward.
few pints.
High rewards. They fill out the trivia, then they come in, turn it into our table, and they get a pint glass. So they have to come to us, and they have to learn.
Cool.
Yeah.
So will you have a way of kind of recording general age brackets who are there and whether they're homeowners or not, so we know if that's the kind of thing that's a good way to spend money in the future?
Yeah, I think that when we're there, it's gonna be me, Russ, Amanda, and were you gonna come too, Mike?
Yeah, I should be able to make it.
Yeah.
I'll probably just walk over from the office.
So hopefully, when we're manning the table, we'll be able to take that info down and try to see if it's an effective way to get our message out.
But
Not
it'll
just a
be
fun
little
one.
after 5 before I get there.
Oh, that's fine. It's not gonna take manning. Finally, we do the Fire in the Root Smokies 80th Reading Challenge Library event at the Stevensville North Valley Library on June 25th at 10 a.m. And it's gonna be learn with a firefighter, doing some reading, crafts, donate a book to the library, learn a little bit about fire science, and have some fun prizes and giveaways for the kids.
Do you have a poster made up for the pint night yet?
Yes,
It's right there.
it's
Can you email that one out?
yes, I just made it about 2 hours ago.
Okay.
So I haven't moved on it yet, but I will email that out. I just want to finalize it with the brewery and make some final tweaks. Cause I don't quite love it yet.
Is the beer trying to put out the flames? I'm not sure.
That'd be kind of fun. Me and Kristen were actually debating, would love some
It's
input.
cute.
Is the beer appropriate? It's a brewery,
It's a.
but we are so
I know,
community
that's what
organization.
it's a pint night
Does anybody
sweater.
have an issue with having that on a poster with our logo on it? Yeah, that's true.
Right.
You might, you said you were gonna have the trivia thing to fill out. You might at the bottom of that ask for a little demographic.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
a checkbox, you
Yeah.
know,
Yep, residents,
property owner, yes,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
whatever.
no,
Do
that
you
would
live
be great.
anywhere near the forest, or are you
Yeah.
in the valley? That kind
Yeah.
of-
actually a newcomer versus been here for a while, or you're new to the valley in the last year.
Mhm.
Might be good, because that's always
Right.
a trend we're looking at, is who's getting the information, who wants the information, who's, yeah,
You could also have a box, are you interested in assessment?
yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe renters, the first property owners,
Yeah.
with evacuation is gonna affect either one.
Well, and then we also know who we're getting at that venue, so when we do pint nights, we can start tailoring our messaging towards, if it's a lot of renters,
mhm,
then tailoring that message to, you know, evacuation preparedness, not as much home assessments, because they don't own the property,
Right.
but they need to, yeah, so great points.
Yeah, or if they don't own the property, giving them materials to give to their landlord. Cause they're still
Yep.
living in that home.
Yeah.
So they may still
And they have
animals
less-
and.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have
that's the
animals,
whole
they still have to
point.
evacuate, but they have less control over that environment. So passing that on to the landlord too. We
Yeah,
had something tailored towards renters, could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Something similar to the thing going out for Airbnbs. Our next outreach meeting is gonna be in the Bitterroot Forest Building, the Blodgett Room on June 10th at 10 AM. And we'll be able to talk more too about the trivia and the pint night and those upcoming events. Anybody
Nice.
have anything left before we move on?
Okay, some old business, the Qualtrics tracking hours. I am really bad. I still haven't been on there to put my hours in to find out if it works for me.
I tried today and it didn't work.
It didn't work for me. I tried mine the other day and it didn't work either.
And let me,
A month ago, and worked for me last week.
do you both have Apple
No.
computers?
I couldn't get you on the agenda either today.
Okay, so we are having trouble getting the
Mhm.
agendas and the Qualtrics isn't working for everybody.
I have a feeling the QR code here is gonna work. I think it's that the links on the newsletter are breaking through the MailChimp server. So they basically have to route through MailChimp to get to the website, and that's where it's crashing. So I will troubleshoot
So
that for the
on the
next newsletter.
MailChimp, does it have a QR code instead of a spelled out link?
It's a link that's pasted into the newsletter, like formatting, and then that translates it to the button that you click. And it worked in the last one, but for whatever reason, the links on this newsletter all broke between the test run and the final send out. So I'm gonna be
Okay.
troubleshooting that before I send out the next one.
so go to, if you have last month's
Mhm.
email, go to that and that Qualtrics is there. That link probably still works because it's the same website.
Mhm.
But that's a good point, is once you do get there successfully, bookmark it and don't depend on the newsletter. Just depend on your bookmark, cause it'll go to that same place.
Mhm. And if you need to bookmark it now too, you can always scan it on your phone
Yeah. you just
and
bookmark
save
it.
that tab.
'Cause this
Does
one
anybody
works
want to
like this
scan
right
it
there.
before I go away from this page? Sounds good.
I might as well try it too.
And, like, we can email out this
Mhm.
unbroken link, just to everyone.
I
too.
scan it, you mean take a picture of it?
You hold your camera up and then you tap on it. And it'll basically make a little yellow box around it and then you click on the link.
Got it.
Idiocy, okay.
Yeah.
More like elder
Yay.
literacy, look at that.
We did it.
You could do a video,
See
sorry.
the QR code.
Except now that you're
QR
there, you need to
feed.
fill in the form and I'm not ready to fill in the form. Oh, now, well, it says, what is your name? Will it take me back to my previous history or do I just?
It adds to it. Kimberly said it's
Mhm.
all iterative, so it will supposedly add everything together and, yeah, it's pretty cool, little thing.
So eventually we'll get the bugs out of it and it is important to log our hours. I'm speaking to myself now because I haven't done it. Because it does matter when we apply for grants, if there's some, what do you call those hours?
Matching, well, it's volunteer
matching.
hours, but that counts as a match that you have to provide,
Right.
so.
So it can really make a difference on qualifying for certain grants.
We get to count about $29 to $30 for every hour that you volunteer or help with. Your value, I know. So it's a really good value and that helps a lot.
It's more than working at McDonald's.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Kimberly, did you have anything to add about that tool?
I did put some things in the chat. I will troubleshoot the Qualtrics too, just to make sure there's no bugs on that end of it. But last time I checked, it was working and I see people putting in their names and it's calculating it like it should. So
Okay,
I think we're good to go. Like I said, the link, and sometimes if you're missing a word, sometimes I've noticed that if you transfer it to a QR code, sometimes you lose that piece or it doesn't have the right piece. So there just might be a little glitch in the matrix there, but it should be working pretty well. And then, like I said, I'll go into Qualtrics and make sure that that is open-ended because sometimes Qualtrics likes to assign a date to when you can take that survey, and I will just leave it open. So I was pretty sure I set it that way initially with the initial parameters, but I'll double check that to make sure folks are still able to get in.
okay. Thank you, Kimberly.
You bet.
All right, I guess if there's no more questions about that, Nicole is not here for her 5 minutes, so Josh will move ahead and do your presentation. Hey, you have this is
Even got
cool.
slides.
Cory and Kimberly, can you see the fire and the impact of mill closures picture?
I only see Nicole Henningfield name on the PowerPoint slide.
Okay.
Yep, that's all I see as well.
One moment.
I don't know how to turn the lights off. Just see his slides better. And then tell me where the hole is.
Yeah, and Kristen, while I got you here, just to provide you with some feedback, this is my first time being online, but the visuals here for looking at the room and through the owl, it's only like a 1 by 2 inch little screen. So I can barely make out Judy and you, Kristen, but everybody else in the room, I can't, you can't see anybody in the room in the panorama in that
Okay.
little screen while you're sharing your display
Right.
for
that's-
the introduction purposes. And then the last thing was everybody in the third row, I think back, I could not hear them. Just give you a heads up.
Okay, no, that's good to know.
Christie, if you're there, go to my car. Center console.
And we can see everything online.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of wanted to do this presentation because it kind of hits close to home for me. I did fire mitigation for 10 years before this, and all that time I was training, working to try and work in the timber industry. So I wanted to be a timber faller ever since I was in college. And so, and I also told myself that I wasn't going to be a forester until I sent a load of logs to the mill. And so, it's kind of affected me, the St. Regis Mill closing. I was able to work from home from there, go home every night, which is a big deal for a logger. That mill closed down, had to go to the Flathead didn't, areas I was working didn't pay as well. Went over to Idaho, cut timber over there. I was about to move down there because it was a 5-hour commute every week, and with the mill closing down in St. Regis, I was like, is this a good move for me, to try and make this a career? And so I guess I feel like part of my role and a lot of our roles right now is to kind of try and keep the timber industry and forest industry growing here and going in the Bitterroot in light of the mill closures. You can go to the next one. So here I have a little map of some of the mills. This is pretty like 5 years old map. The BBER, they do a lot of the economic research in Missoula for the timber industry. For whatever reason, they haven't had a update of stuff in quite a while. But here you can kind of see, this was, the St. Regis Mill right here. This is, Pyramid. This is, Sun Mountain. And this is Sanders, Thompson River Lumber. And so these two mills are kind of some of the mills that we're having to send stuff now, to, which is, as you can see, is a lot longer, haul distance. And so that kind of gives you a layout of the land where we are in forest products. There's quite a few smaller mills in the Bitterroot, that can only takes small loads from smaller landowner projects, along with Post and Pole and, Log Homes is one of the major ones here in the Bitterroot. So Pyramid closure, so that's kind of a unique situation with mill closures in Montana. It's wasn't a complete supply issue. It was also a workforce issue. The cost of living through COVID and higher increases in pay, combined with the decrease in lumber prices, didn't really quite level out. And the problem with Pyramid is they take about 75% of the ponderosa pine in the state. And so that's a major component of our forest restoration practices here in the Bitterroot and also up in the Blackfeet. But especially our lower elevation sites, it's kind of it's making it tough. And so Sun Mountain, they don't take pine. They're not set up to process this wood, so we can't take it there. Some of our logging contractors are even talking about sending stuff all the way to Idaho, which is a long haul. And so that makes it so these projects are really not economically feasible, without, especially without grant money. And then Thompson River Lumber, they do take pine, but I was hearing from some of the loggers that they're only taking wood 1 day a week. So they're kind of, there's been a huge influx of wood to these other mills that haven't allowed some of our stuff here, and particularly in the Bitterroot, to be taken to the mill. You go next one. I think a lot, what's not quite talked about as much is the Roseburg mill closure. They produce a particle board.
Where is that?
And Missoula.
Oh,
Yeah, and so that was, they had, I think, over 100 employees working there. And what Roseburg did, they took all the residuals of the leftovers from the other mills. And that component is super important for our other mills, because that is usually 10 to 20% of the income made from milling the wood or getting the timber products. And so that 10 to 20% with the Roseburg mill is, you know, in a tight economic situation, that's increases our projects and not being able to do them. And so they're kind of, they make particle board there, and plywood, I guess, is becoming more of a viable product. And so Roseburg, they actually invested $700 million in plywood manufacturing in Oregon. And so I guess they don't see a bright future here for that. And so, I mean, that's another factor in someone potentially buying the Pyramid mill. And so there's actually still talks going on about the mill being bought, so we can kind of cross our fingers and hope that happens. And then the next one. So Bonner, I haven't talked about them yet, but they take all the pulp mill in Missoula. And they've also seen a huge influx of people trying to get rid of lumber from all over, just because the other mills can't take them. And they're paying, I think currently right now, around $32 a ton, which is usually like
the base break-even costs of, hauling, skidding, and processing and taking that wood, to the mill. And so our loggers aren't making money off of it, and, it's actually kind of nice for our loggers actually to deal with it. Because sometimes they're actually losing money on it. And, we just had that, burning workshop, reduce smoke, and us not being able to, get rid of this wood is gonna create a lot more smoke within the Bitterroot Valley. And part of this reason, I was kind of looking at this, why is the pulp market down? I thought maybe because Amazon, we're shipping boxes and stuff everywhere. But it's actually a major decline in graphic paper, so like books and newspapers and whatnot, and so kind of hard to read, but I think 2005 or 7, and then it's been on a dramatic decrease since. And it's also not a stable supply or a stable way to get rid of our wood from our projects, because last year the mill was shut down for 3 months. Yep, we can go to the next one. And so I guess I kind of threw this in here because a lot of our loggers too are crucial in the firefighting role. They are able to create larger food banks with their machinery, and than what a typical kind of hand crew can do. So they're a critical component in the firefighting. But also it's how a lot of our contractors make ends meet, just because the market is so volatile. It's really hard to make money for our loggers. They honestly would make a lot more money doing dirt work, but they actually love doing the forestry work. And the loggers that we do have left all really care about the forest, and they'll talk about how they left this little area for squirrels or whatever, and so you don't really typically think of that as a logger, and so the firefighting is kind of like a double-edged sword though. They're fighting fire, but at the same time, when they're pulled off the fire, they're not doing forestry work that's critically needed in the valley. And so you can go to the next one. So this has kind of been a big thing that's kind of been happening. So insurance, people are currently, it's happening right now, being dropped from insurance. It's happening in Middle County. I think Eric Winters from the other collaborative, he was dropped, but he was able to find another insurance company at this time. So this is going to be a huge thing that I think is going to happen here in Montana. And part of us being able to log and being able to do these field reduction is to be able to have these insurance companies actually take a second look and maybe insure some of our stuff. We go to the next one. I kind of wanted to bring up the Lolo Peak Fire. This is one that I was probably about a quarter mile away from the fire line. Right in here. And I guess I'm gonna try to kind of talk about how it's gonna affect our projects directly, and kind of how I'm thinking, or how we are trying to think about setting up these projects. As you can see, this fire had started somewhere up here, and then they built this fire line all the way across. And what they were doing was building that fire line in a safe spot at the bottom of the slope. And so this is what we're kind of trying to recreate, all the way down the Bitterroot Valley, hopefully in conjunction with Forest Service and other partners. I'm gonna talk about a particular project, or Victor V project area. I know there's already been a ton of work that's kind of already been put into this. So they've done thinning work around here. We're talking about this area in particular.
Can you tell us something about which roads you're talking about?
Yeah, so the
I don't know
Victor V, so,
where it is.
the V, you know, up on the hillside, so it's, I think right here. And so it's like right here, and right here, I couldn't really combine the maps. And so,
The V's on the east side.
No.
west,
He's
Up
right
there.
out this window.
Yeah.
Right out this
Oh,
window.
yeah.
He pointed that way. so-
sorry,
Right
yeah,
out this
east,
window.
east is always right to me. And so. Yeah, the mill closure is gonna. We've kind of had to think of creative ways to kind of try and get some of this project work done. This is something that's been kind of in the works for, I think, the past year or so. I know Corey Gary, has kind of talked with the owners of this, and, so we're partnering up with NRCS. They have a pool of money that, I think they cover like $1,200 an acre, but that's not enough to get this project work done. And so we're kind of coming in and adding on top of that to kind of, through our forest action plan grant. So we're combining money and, or else we wouldn't be able to do this project, just partly because of the mill closure. Just because I think costs are increasing so much to do this project work. Some areas we've already seen, almost a doubling in price, or to implement this work. Especially on our lower
Because
elevation.
there's nowhere to take the
Yep.
wood.
Yep, and so it's just kind of a hindrance, you know, and Colorado has seen this problem, their project cost can be anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 a year. And so a $300,000 grant, you know, really isn't gonna get us anywhere without a mill. And so, what's gonna be cool about this project though is, you know, we're gonna be able to do this. And we're gonna be able to use the Wyden Authority, hopefully, to take the fire all the way down to the toe of the slope, like on, in the low peak fire. And also we're providing our firefighters a lot of different options when these fires do happen, and their initial attack or later. Go to the next one. So Darby, this is the same thing that's gonna happen over here. We have great potential in doing these treatments and protecting these lower elevation communities. Lake Como, this is Lake Como right here. There's a lot of potential there for human starts. And so under the right conditions, that could really affect this lower communities down here and up here. And so, but these again are all high units. So we're figuring things out, you know, as we go. And so I'm meeting with another logger this weekend, and we're gonna kind of try and hash out how we're gonna find out how to pay for this work and get it done. And so like this is one of the loggers, Sean Stoker, that whole deck is all pine. So just because we have Sun Mountain and Thompson River lumber doesn't mean that we can do stuff with this wood. We go next one. And so our grants and whatnot, it's just, you know, it's kind of a temporary Band-Aid right now. I've been kind of talking with some of our grant folks. They kind of expect our grant funding to kind of peter off in the next couple years. But so hopefully with the CWDG grant that we're applying for, and with some of the RCP funding, which is an NRCS grant, which they just got $4 million to do forestry work. So hopefully we can kind of combine forces and kind of keep our loggers and people working, because, you know, once we lose them, it's kind of, they kind of go away, because they're not going to just all of a sudden invest in millions of dollars in equipment. And so we're potentially losing a lot of expertise and knowledge and skill of work in the woods. Our graph right here is kind of where the wood historically has come from in the Bitterroot. So, the gray over here is the Forest Service. The gray is the Forest Service,
Yep, not bad. Yep, I will. Good luck.
so, yeah, so in order for some of our investors to potentially invest in a Pyramid mill, even better yet, a Valley County mill, we need to get long-term guaranteed supply of wood. And as you can see, our Forest Service had a steady supply in the sixties, seventies, and then the nineties, that kind of really tapered off. And a lot of the stands that we're dealing with here in the Bitterroot, on private ground, you can see the remnants from this stage right here in the nineties. It was kind of when they kind of cut all the good stuff and then kind of left a bunch of junk, like a lot of the restoration wood, or a lot of the wood that's gonna be going to Bonner Mill, pulp mill. And so 77% of the Valley is Forest Service. And so you can go to the next one. I think as a group, you know, we kind of, in my opinion, need to be advocates for some of the projects that the Forest Service is putting on, like the Golden Butterfly and the Mud Creek project. This is on the east side, the Golden Butterfly over here. And if you kind of overlay this, I shouldn't get the match, but this right here is this right here. And so, this is Onyx. And then these are all individual landowners that are signed up for NRCS money, but can't finish the projects, partly because of the mill closure. And, Kendall is actually working on a project, right here. For some more grant money to kind of do that work. So, in my opinion, this is a really cool work project area that is really gonna do a lot to help protect the communities of Ravalli County. This, from here to here, this is a 10-mile, essentially fuel break in between Forest Service and, private land. And on top of that, we're adding this area. And if we can add all these landowners, you can kind of see how we can kind of come together and do landscape level management and try and really tackle some of this project work and make it safer for the Bitterroot Valley. I mean, if you think about it, we've done $7 million of project work in 20 years. But, you know, if we save a handful of homes, all that money would pay for itself. And so I think this money is really well spent. So, go to the next one. This one is a Bitterroot front. I mean, I think someone else and kind of the Forest Service person can talk about that in the future. I'm not too privy on it, but it's kind of the same idea. But I think it'd be really great to have a Forest Service representative come and talk about the condition-based management scheme that's gonna be going on. So this is the Bitterroot front. So, and my understanding, if this project was able to be approved, we could adaptively kind of put these projects together in collaboration with private and Forest Service and really make these projects stronger. So it's an exercise of trust with this condition-based management. Trust for our forest, with the Forest Service, to be able to do this kind of stuff. I can't really explain it. I've heard one talk on the condition-based analysis stuff, and so I think that'd be a really good future talk. We could kind of get a Forest Service representative. So, I mean, the outlook is kind of bleak, but I think the forest and the forest industry has been really adaptive and, because we've been going through mill closures for decades now, and, kind of seems like it's all kind of falling apart right now. But I think, I still have hope, so, yeah, I have to, and, and talking about an exercise of trust with the Forest Service and project work that we are all doing, Pheasants Forever, Bitterroot RC&D, NRCS, the Forest Service. Our goal isn't to take advantage of the forest, because we raid the forest and make a bunch of money, because there's no money.
Yeah.
And so, this is actually Prim Meadows right here. And I kind of had that as my background because I believe that this is kind of something that we're trying to do. We're trying to build these forests that are ecologically resilient, fire resilient, and beautiful to look at. And they last for centuries. And you know, if we just let it all burn, you know, we're setting up our next generation for the same exact thing. 80 years, bugs start getting in there and
Killing everything.
yep, and so, it's kind of on us to do this for the future generations. I know I missed a lot, and, I'm kind of getting my feet wet with public speaking, so I apologize. Spent a lot of time in the wall tent by myself in the past 10 years. So, yeah.
You did good. Would you maybe give a brief intro to like who you are and what Bitterroot RC&D does, just because we do have a lot of new faces that might not
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, so, Bitterroot RC&D has been around for 20, or a little over 20 years. And this was in response to the fires of 2000. I wasn't here then, but, I think it was probably pretty bad.
It was
And,
bad.
Yeah. And so they started a fuels mitigation program and, yeah, like I said, we've been in operation for 20+ years. We've treated thousands of acres. I think it's over 1,400 different separate landowners we've done work on. Some of our stuff has come into need retreatment again. And so this is once we treat an area, doesn't mean we're done, you know, and so it's kind of the amazing thing about forests is, you know, they keep growing. And a little bit about myself. Yeah, I graduated in 2015. My expertise, I guess, mostly is in urban forestry, so tree planting. I led tree planting workshops all across the state. I would work closely with a lot of our First Nations, Stro, did a lumber chainsaw milling workshop and tree planting workshop there, and yeah, driven U-Hauls around building trees all over the state. And so that's kind of, I like the whole process of trees, you know, from the start to the end. But, when I did fuels mitigation for 7 years, you know, working with individual landowners, worked a lot over in the Helena area, not too much in the Bitterroot. I wish I would have got to.
Yeah.
I really would have got to go home a lot, but yeah, and then I cut timber for 2 years, tried to make it a career and wasn't able to do it. And so that's why I think it's very important to keep, you know, the ones that are left around. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate what RC&D does in working with private landowners, because we have 16 acres. That's not huge, but it's a lot of trees to take care of. And without getting a 50-50 cost share grant and being able to hire some loggers to come in and do the thinning and getting rid of the logs and all of that, we would still have a mess on our hands. And we would have lots of beetle kill. we've had to deal with beetle kill, and we've finally, every year we have to take something down before it affects other trees, but
And that's kind of another thing, it's nice with these collective efforts, it kind of. It all matters, and each landowner that does their due diligence helps.
mhm.
Judy, just a little bit to add to with mill closures and everything, like Josh said. Pyramid in Sealy Lake was not a lack of wood, it was not really a lack of workers, it was lack of affordable housing for the workers. And we're running that all over, but keep an eye out, talk to your congressman. There's actually a bill being brought forth in Washington DC right now to try and get money for Ravalli County and Missoula County, especially Sealy Lake area, to put in a community, expand their community septic, their sewage plant up in Sealy Lake, so they can have affordable housing. The moratorium on sewers, on septics in Sealy, unless you want to put in a system that's $50,000 to $100,000.
Wow.
Valley County, any property owners down here, if you get put off from the septic pumper, it's not because they don't want to do it, they have a problem getting rid of it. We're working with another group in the county right now, trying to figure out how to dispose of it. Missoula County's got us way back, got the pumpers way back on disposing of it. A lot of them are now driving to Helena and dumping in Helena. And they'll take it all, but it's also, you're gonna see go cost
Yeah.
$350, $400 pumping the tank up to $600, $700.
And just like sewer systems or forest industry should be thought of as critical infrastructure.
Yeah, and it is, it's the further away you get these products. And if we can get the problem solved like a Sealy, Pyramid can come back. They're already in discussions up there with the new owners, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And the mill in Townsend that closed years ago, there's talk about bringing that one back again too.
Josh, how much of a plate can the small mom and pop sawmill do?
I should have talked a little more about them. They actually are helping quite a bit, and hopefully, some of this more access to some of this wood supply will hopefully spark on some investments from some of these smaller land or some of these smaller sawmills. They do really help with a lot of our smaller projects, so like 5 to 10 acre projects that our loggers can be creative and get rid of that wood to some of the local markets. But when we're talking about landscape level change, you know, that they're gonna fill up their yards pretty quick. And so, yeah, but no, they definitely do help a lot with.
Well, it's 2 or 3 loads a week would be a lot probably for most sawmills.
Yeah.
If they're good logs.
Mhm.
But now what about firewood? You know, small
That's-
stuff like post size.
So posted pole, that's only lodged pole, but that's typically pretty valuable. And then a lot of our loggers are actually out going to fire, trying to sell firewood, but then at the same time, that's a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
So the Forest Service has a grant right now, there's $1 million innovation grant for looking at doing stuff with wood products, and then if you can get firewood to, people in need. So, like, that's something I would love to see in this, that, like veterans and impoverished people getting wood, cause me and Josh see, like, how much wood that me and you look at this getting burned in piles, that we're just like, oh, it should so be used, but I just can only, you'd laugh if you came to my house, cause I brought so much wood onto it just from like a little few jobs, cause I'm like, I'm gonna burn it, cause I can't just see it go, and yeah, I had to stop that real darn quick.
Do
So-
we have any, cause I've seen a firewood box off of 93, the only one, is that like where you know, you put excess wood that can be burned for firewood for anybody to grab? Is that something that is elsewhere in the county at
No, we
all?
need something bigger, I mean, we need to have like a nice place where like a load could come in, there.
Yeah.
You could have crews coming out of Job Corps, or, I mean, this is a perfect nonprofit, honestly, if somebody wants to be, innovative in the valley. I mean, Kmart's open, there's a big lot, let's put some wood there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of will, I've seen in the last couple of years, just, kind of that pulp size Douglas fir material. I'm having guys on our state sales, cause we just offer it at like $1 a ton. It's like that pulp material. It's essentially you're kind of giving it away. It's like $30 basically for a load of that. And so they are finding some success with, finding some local markets. I've got, I don't know if you folks know the Arno famous, but Nate Arno and his boys have been cutting down there, in French Basin, and they've actually done several loads of just pulp size Douglas fir that they've been able to find markets and find. So, I'm seeing a more of an increase in that than I have in the past, the last 3 years, where they're wanting to use that pulp price for firewood. We're happy to do that because it gets that smaller diameter treated, which is what we want to see in terms of what our management objectives are. So we are seeing some more of that, so.
That's typically just with Doug fir.
Right.
Our
Just
fire
Douglas fir.
pine is,
Yeah, the pine's still gonna be an issue. Yep.
But with, you talked about the particle board plant in Missoula basically shutting down.
mm,
There been any research into like some of the other materials like that North Idaho, pellet and, pressure log?
I'm not sure. I was looking into, I think that'd be a slick move. I don't
Well,
know.
they're doing pine shavings and they're doing the wood pellets, but there's also an infrastructure on that. I mean, to run a pellet mill, I ran one for 9 years and it's. And so if there's Bitterroot shavings where they're taking, but it's just, well, we need to generate, there's a lot of trees that need to come down in this valley. That's the problem. I mean, just the one project that Josh was showing, I'm doing 850 acres. And then, yeah, the Forest Service behind it. I mean, the NRCS has, what, how many contracts?
There's
behind it?
a lot there.
I mean, we were
And so-
sitting here talking like, this is like perfect collaboration, like all these groups to get together, the DNRC, the NRCS, the Forest Service. Two of us and get the economy of scale to make it more affordable. But then what do we do with all this stuff? I mean,
They, the collaborative meeting Monday, the 10th at 6 p.m. County Commissioner's office, maybe bring maybe some of that, something that we're looking at different projects, maybe and possibly looking at some grants. Maybe we can help get together on some of that.
we all love money, like to help fuel these projects.
Laura?
Anybody looking at pyrolysis, I guess it is, in biochar? I know there's a pilot project up on the Flathead, but that can take.
Yeah, and that's pretty tough just because it's not very cost effective. There was a look, Mike Shadell, the Nature Conservancy did some of that up in the Gold Creek area. They tested this pilot project. I mean, just because they test this pilot project doesn't mean it's not feasible at all, but I mean, the costs are super prohibitive. The output is super low.
What were they doing biochar?
Yeah, yep, and then even attempting to like sell the carbon credits for biochar. So it costs a lot of money to make biochar. How they were doing it, they had one of those curtain burners, and they had 2 employees working full-time, loading that thing up with live green trees and burning constantly, and I think the yield wasn't that great, and to pay 2 people to utilize an excavator and whatever $250,000 machine.
Does it produce a lot of smoke in the process?
No,
No, not at all.
No emissions, it's
Okay,
power.
I do know that there is something going on in the Flathead, and I don't know,
Mhm.
some, apparently, you know everything I know, but I'm wondering if it's something we could.
Yeah, I mean, I think we gotta get creative with how we utilize some of our wood products.
Yeah.
I mean, like all our bark and whatnot and soil amendments and stuff, from Idaho, Mountain West or whatever. And I mean, it's just gonna take a lot of creativity and work to kind of come out of this, but
Has BioRoot, and I can't remember the gentleman behind it, but some of you in the southern part may know. Have you heard of BioRoot? It's biofuels essentially, and a while back when we were first starting the council. One of the owners, who I think lives in either Sula or Darby, reached out and, gave us an explanation kind of what they did, but what they were looking for was mass levels of wood byproduct so that they could make biofuels, but they need huge quantities.
Mhm.
And so that's their limiting factor, is they need a constant supply of a huge amount of byproducts. But we may be approaching that, and if there's no market for it, like I hate for the wood to, because it's also usable wood, much of this, but that could be an option.
Sawdust and chips.
That's still.
You're right, it is, and it's a clean energy.
Yeah, you can use
So-
a different technology to create electricity as well, so
Yeah.
it's not always liquid or
Right.
gas fuel, it
Yeah.
can be just a turbine that creates electricity.
Yeah.
But we're running into the cost of these projects hitting so much. I mean, me and Josh are on, said tomorrow and talk about this, but it's just gotten so prohibitive. Like, so you talk to a landowner, and if you can't offset with some logs going to the mill,
Yeah,
and then, I mean, we're having landowners that won't even get contractors, won't call them back because they're like, well, I don't wanna go deal with that 10 acres, because
right,
it's just not gonna. I'm gonna have to charge $5,000 an acre.
Yeah.
So there's work that needs to be done. It's just getting harder to find the people to do it.
I think Darby's
think
Wood
Lori
is
wants
the
to-
one that used to take that kind of stuff, and they don't take it.
Right.
right.
I think Corey has his hand up.
I had one thing about the biochar. I heard that come up. It's a big thing in the Forest Service right now. There's a lot of new publications coming out. The agency's still learning about it, but it has seen a lot of success in the southeast around curtain burners with hurricane damage due to wood products and forest, and then also houses and that kind of thing. So there are some incident management teams that have been using those and purchasing those for the city to use to be able to create that biochar, and a lot of that data is going to come from that. What I would propose to the group is, if you wanted to do a grant and try to get one for one of the communities here in Ravalli County, to be able for landowners to take their debris to, and then just have the county burn it on site. And that would be, I think, the best course of action, unless you have this mass quantity of debris that's ready to go into it with a front end loader powered by a diesel, it being able to fill it, keep it full, and keep moving it along. It's really not. There's different sizes. There are a few that only cost like only $100,000, but no, there are options. But what I would propose is look at it with the grants, with the CWPP being filled, maybe make that an option for the county or one of the local communities that might want to use it, if the county commissioners were willing to back it and host it somewhere or wherever it needs to go. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys all need to go to the collaborative meeting coming up. You got ideas for it.
What about an air curtain destructor? That's a lot cheaper than biochar.
An area what?
Air curtain destructor. I used to have one when I lived in Georgia, and because it was required for burning. But a biochar, I mean, it can be moved around, but a air curtain destructor, you dig a pit in the ground and it can be 100 feet long or 200 feet long. And you put up a wind source, an air source, a high wind source with a turbine or however. The one I had was a turbine, but we would dig a trench 10 feet deep and 100 feet long and pump air into it. And there was no smoke that left the site. And that's a lot cheaper to build, but you can close it in and move it somewhere else. Just by picking up your tubing and your turbine. And when I moved to Montana 25 years ago, I called Helena and asked him if it was a requirement for burning in Montana. Because I didn't want to sell it, if I could use it here. They had no idea.
Yeah.
what I was talking about.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. Yeah.
But yeah, you can look them up on YouTube, they're there.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's a tube as long as you wanna make it. And it's got deflectors that shoot air into the pit. Pits are usually the wide of, the width of a blade, like on a D10,
Mhm.
say 12 feet wide.
Okay.
And you dig them as deep as you want to and as long as you want to.
Mhm.
And you just dump all your slash or whatever in there
As you're going,
as you're going.
okay.
And it'll burn 24/7. Some communities will they have to be out by midnight or 9 o'clock or whatever. But yeah, I used to do that
Mhm.
quite often.
I'm always amazed at what people in this group have done or know about. It's very interesting.
But yeah, I was amazed when I called Helena and they said, we have no idea what the
Yeah.
hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because they're expensive and I didn't want to get rid of it
Yeah.
if I could have used it here.
Mhm.
Well, I think we could probably go on, but I
Yeah.
don't know if you have more to say or if there are more questions. What I heard was a lot of bad news and some great, interesting ideas, but how do we make that happen?
How do you entice a plywood plant to come to the Billeroo?
I don't know, I think there's some, I was looking in this, there's some renewed interest, there used to be a lot more, kind of collaborative mills, I guess, co-ops, kind of like food co-ops. Except like a lumber mill here in the Bitterroot, kind of, my thought was, kind of all our local loggers sending would do it and, but we'd have to sell it as a different product than, a typical 2x4. Our typical 2x4 comes from plantations usually in Washington, Oregon, or
Canada.
clear cuts in Canada,
Yeah.
virgin forest it's a totally different product, which is kind of too bad, there's all these different labelings for food products, from organic to free, the eggs, there's a million different things, and the wood products industry just doesn't have that. So, there's the FS sustainable forest stuff, but that can come from the rainforest and anywhere, and so. It's a totally different product than what I believe is coming off a lot of Montana's projects, so.
That is an option of creating a market, like, think of the big beetle kill.
Mhm.
Wood, right? There wasn't a market for that, and it actually, they were like, this is trash wood. And we created a market to where that sells premium.
Yep, the Sustainable Lumber
so-
Company, they sell that blue stain pine and then they, you type in sustainable lumber, that's the one of the main things that comes up. Wherever you are in the US.
Yeah.
People don't think of it, sustainable lumber. But also it's getting people to pay extra, for a better product. Like people are willing to pay like 3 times as much for eggs, a good food store, is $12 a dozen.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, and so, but it's kind of a little harder to, I think, convince someone to redo their whole home or before they're building it to add that extra.
Well, we're in an interesting time though.
Yeah.
With the Bitterroot Front project, we should be able to start enticing some people to maybe start thinking about maybe investing in some equipment or maybe doing something different, because, I think our valley's really, there's a lot of men and women that have worked really hard to get this going through the CWPP. We should know that for years, we're gonna be working on this, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we can show that and it can then make some, I don't know. Somebody come up with a product or know that they can do that investment. 700 million in working. That's a lot of money. So they know it's an area, if it was a tax break or what, who knows, but we'll have the product here for years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
they're there, sees it, I see it, the Forest Service has been seeing it, so, it's just, trying to entice the right person.
Yeah, and I think that's why I kind of put in some of those Forest Service projects, because I think they are extremely important. Even if right now there's no one to bid on them, to have those there as hey, here's a sustained wood supply. You can make this investment, make it be a little safe, because timber industry is kind of one of the most volatile
Mhm.
things in US, I think, in terms of markets and the prices and.
And it's getting through the public perception too.
Yeah.
It's not designed to go in and clear cut everything out. It's designed to keep the forest healthy, and take the products as they need to be taken out. That gives good perception as we're building back the trust again and that working together. The agencies are together, but it's more education to the public.
Well, this has been great food for thought, Josh. Thank you. So, we don't have anybody scheduled yet for next month's talk. But it sounds like maybe we could, you suggested have somebody from the Forest Service talk about their connection with these projects.
Might be hard if it's July.
Yeah.
Saying.
Does anybody have a suggestion for who else might give us a discussion that might be pertinent to what our council does? And interesting, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you can email me or Ella or Kristen if you have an idea before next month. We'll probably come up with something if you don't give us an idea.
Well, and we could ask, you know, like, maybe Corey or Matt would be interested in doing it if fires aren't going, because it is beginning of July.
Steve Brown,
Huh?
Steve Brown, that bidder,
Yeah.
that was kind of his baby to start with.
Right, so, you know, that's an option, and then if fires are busy, then we just have a plan B to cover if they can't.
Right.
Yeah, Kristen, I'm one step ahead of you. I went ahead and pinged, Steve. Let him know that there might be a request coming down to come and talk about the front, go butterfly, east side, whatever you guys want to hear about.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Well, the last item we had on the agenda, we have less time for now. Do you
Well,
think we can do it in 10 minutes?
No, what I would suggest is we add it to next month's agenda, but we preface it so people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
So that they can come with an idea, which will actually make it go faster and probably
Okay,
be more productive.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
then can you explain, Albert? You're gonna wanna hear this because you'll be
You're gonna get yelled
confused.
at.
You'll be confused if you don't hear this.
So Ella and I had planned an activity to help us come up with project ideas. That's council generated, right? Ideally for the outreach team to implement. And we're talking big project, ideally. So we will do this activity the next meeting, but be thinking now about if somebody gave us a nice check to do a project, what would you like to see the council doing, right? So.
And this would be related to projects we've already outlined in the CWPP or something
No,
new and different?
it could be, because those are mostly what we've been thinking, but it could be out of the box. It could be something we haven't discussed before.
You're buying a biochar thing.
Exactly,
Or
right?
whatever that
Like,
thing is that Albert described.
yeah, the air curtain, right? So, but like that, right? Ideally, potentially achievable, so, you know, we're not rocket launching to Mars and doing advertising there, but don't let the price tag necessarily constrain you. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying we've got a bunch of money that we're gonna be awarding, but it would just be nice to see ideas, because a lot of times we can manipulate ideas to become more achievable. And so come with one idea. That's this is what if we could do this, I would love for the council to do this. Okay, Kendall's already going, which one do I choose? So come and we'll have an activity on doing that.
And you would have to explain your idea in 50 words or less.
Yeah, in essentially one sentence, right? Because you're gonna be writing it down on a piece of paper and then other people are gonna be reading that. So figure out a way to do it, to write it so that it's in a concise manner. But something for the council to tackle. So it also needs to be along the lines of our mission, right? Reduction of wildfire risk, education of our residents, not outreach. So somewhere within our purview and mission,
Learning to live with wildfire.
learning to live with wildfire.
Those kinds of things.
Yep. Yeah, so, yeah, and then any other agenda items we can discuss now, if there's any other.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
and
mentioned,
meeting in a new place, are we?
yes, so
Oh, yeah.
first off, the next meeting is on July 2nd, and it's the first Tuesday in July. But that is 2 days before the 4th of July, if people are trying to travel, have a busy week. Does anybody have any issues or would like to move to the July 9th, which is the second Tuesday of the month? Does anybody have any comments on that
We
idea?
could ask it this way, if we had it on the 2nd, would you raise your hands if you can come, and if you can't, would July 9th work, and see how many people raise their hands?
Yeah,
What, yeah, can we do the second?
Yes. How many can do July 2nd? And how many can do July 9th?
July and August, I can do the second Tuesdays. Rest of the year I can't.
Okay, there's a few that didn't raise their hands, so I guess they're going to Europe or something. So it looks like we could go either way.
Let's just leave it then, maybe, or, yeah. But we do want you here to provide input on the projects. Like, so that is pretty valuable.
mhm.
County is having our first fire meeting on the 8th of July.
Mm,
So tonight, you might have some.
So information and.
Yeah.
Maybe let's try it the 9th then.
Yeah,
And we'll
sounds
just-
great.
In order to have more input from the county.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, I'm projecting that we'll probably start talking about closing,
burning,
burning.
Yeah.
At that point.
So that's something drastic happened before then.
Correct.
Right, like.
yeah, this year,
Yes, oh, yeah,
Yes,
yes.
that's it, enough to be our last one.
I thought he was going to be here tonight, but I guess not. The new county forest.
oh, yeah,
My other question about.
It hasn't been in any of the meetings for the last 2 weeks, so anything, so.
Do we have to
Oh,
consider
no.
political reality?
What's your question, Laura?
Well, what Kristen was saying about project proposals, I mean. There are things you could suggest that we know aren't politically gonna fly.
that's okay, suggest it. Because here's the thing. I put it on that piece of paper because we're gonna be exchanging these ideas, right? And it could be something that somebody else has been thinking of, and somebody else has been thinking of. And so, why you think that it's something only you are thinking of, you might be wrong. And so, put it, or, well,
And so in the end, when we have all of our ideas out, is there gonna be some kind of a consensus on each
there is a
idea?
ranking that happens. The
Okay.
activity provides a way of kind of ranking them. And so that's what's kind of neat. So it's.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's worth getting all the ideas out there.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And put it down. If it's what you envision and it falls within the mission, put it down.
Mhm.
Great.
Lovely. Is there anything anyone would like to add to the agenda for next meeting?
So did we decide on changing to the 9th?
Changing to the 9th.
Location will be here.
The location is going to change as it's entering fire season, so we'll be looking for that new location over the next couple weeks. Does anybody have any initial input, any ideas? For that next meeting could be held?
Other than Daily Beach.
Why do you have a problem with Daily Leach? It's a wonderful room.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
Oh,
That's
I
what I
thought you
was
said other than Daily Leach.
No, yeah, I was meaning other than because she's working
Oh.
on Daily Leach.
Yeah, I called
no,
them
'cause she was
like
just
4
asking for-
Just because they process dead people
No,
there.
not at all. Yeah, she's working on it, but I don't think she's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I've
just
called
haven't been
them
responsive, right?
many times and they've never responded, so I'm just having a hard time actually following through
Oh,
with that at particular avenue.
But yeah. It's well for 20 people, will it fit it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's around.
I don't know, it's pretty small.
It's 50?
Yeah, that room's,
Well, because it's kind of, it's got a wall, so it turns into 2 rooms if it needs to, but when the wall was pushed
Okay.
back like we were in it today, then it's
Yeah.
too big.
Is there more tables that we can add in?
Oh, there's many.
Or chairs? We might not even need tables.
Well, we probably have like 35.
I mean,
Friday.
just with how it is set up right now, everybody
It's like,
would fit what's here. Yeah,
Okay.
oh, for sure.
I'm just picturing.
I mean, everybody was sitting there today.
25,
Everyone
30.
in that was in the
Friday.
work in the office ate in there today.
Really?
Yeah, for the
Yeah, it's
potluck.
like they
Okay.
better board off, but it's not hard.
I also have another suggestion, and it may not be viable because it is the new Hamilton Fire Station. They have a beautiful conference room. I realize they might be in the same boat as Victor in that they may be having meetings on a regular basis, but
Yeah, that's
If-
we're looking fire season, and the fire department can work.
That's our incident command center. We have 3.
Yeah.
Just go right.
okay.
The other option would be like the Grange or something like that, but that's gonna cost.
Yeah, kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Wow, we could try the Bitterroot. and
Yeah,
then-
I think I'll follow up again with Daily Leach. And if they keep ignoring my calls and we'll follow
I'll
up with
call them
Magruder
and
and
I'll call
Alta.
you back next time. I'll walk down there and talk. to them.
Cool.
Another option, maybe get a hold of Jeff Burrows down at the county commissioner, see about maybe using his, the commissioner's meeting room, just have to be out of there by 10.
No problem. We don't stay till 10.
No.
That's our bedtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judy, are you able to see the chat? I've thrown in a whole bunch of places.
Oh, Ella's looking at it right now. Can you see it?
Color wildlife, okay. Oh, yeah, the library.
It's so small. Okay, we can check on some of these other things. So anything else somebody wants to ask before we say we're done for the night?
Ella, if you want to reach out to me, I have contact over at Teller. That's a really great educational room. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, but we were just there to do a meet and greet for the 4-H agent, and the classroom size is fantastic, probably fit like 50 people in there. And I have that contact. I also have contact with the county. I also have contact with the libraries. I also have contact with the weed district. So if you want to just reach out to me, we can kind of coordinate if you find yourself in a pinch.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Also, before you leave, take some of these flyers for our workshop and
Yep,
give them to your friends or post them somewhere. So we
everywhere.
can get the word out.
And we accidentally printed double, so take extra.
Take double.
So
what
take
you
double.
read.
Don't want
Thank
any to
you
go to
all
waste.
for coming. We'll see you
On the night,
July 9th,
Mhm.
somewhere.
somewhere. We'll
9th
let you know where.
somewhere.
Thank you, Zoomers.
All right.